Hello, buddy. Welcome back to Tin Man's Quarter Channel. I'm your host, Jeffrey Tin Man Taylor. Today, I'm reacting to my second Midnight Terrors video for you guys, and this was titled 6 Disturbing True McDonald's Horror Stories. So without further ado, I'm going to turn these lights off, move the camera up here for you guys, and let's get this reaction on the road back, shall we? Okay, here we go.
This happened about a year ago. For context, both me and my friend Anna are 22-year-old women. It was a chill weekend, and we decided to drive out to this super well-known beach town in Southern California. One of those places that's packed with celebrities and overpriced smoothies.
Right.
The day was great. We took some fun pictures, walked around the beach, and on the drive back, we were starving. So we figured we'd swing by a McDonald's before heading home. It was the one right across the street from that ultra-famous restaurant you always hear about, where rich people go to be seen.
You know, to be honest with you, I wouldn't mind going to coastal towns or anywhere else that has celebrities being known to visit at. But here's the thing. I would not like it if I had to pay overprice on a meal. So, a McDonald's will be up my alley for sure. Well, let's just see what happens to these ladies next.
Now, what we didn't know at the time is that the McDonald's parking lot is kind of a hot spot for celebrity drivers. Guys in black Escalades who park there and wait while their clients have dinner across the road. We just thought it was a normal fast food spot. All we wanted was a McFlurry. As soon as we got out of the car, Anna started acting weird. She locked the doors twice, grabbed her expensive camera, and kept glancing at a group of men standing outside the building. I asked what was up, and she said, kind of low-key, "Those guys are staring at us. I don't like it." I shrugged it off. I've lived in rougher neighborhoods and figured we were fine. This was a fancy, busy town after all. We went inside. There were a few other people around our age eating, so it felt pretty normal. We ordered our food and sat down. Not even 2 minutes later, one of the guys from outside came in and sat a few booths away, positioned perfectly so he could just sit there and watch us. He didn't order anything, didn't take out a phone, just sat there and stared. Anna was clearly uncomfortable, and I started to feel it too. She said we should just leave, and I agreed, but I told her I needed to use the bathroom first. This McDonald's had kind of a weird layout. The bathroom wasn't near the main dining room. It was down a side hallway, almost secluded, with another door that led directly outside right by it. When I walked back there, I didn't notice if anyone else was in the restroom. I just went into the first stall and started doing my thing. A few seconds later, I heard the door open, and Anna called my name. I was confused, like, what? Yeah? I'm fine? And she just kind of stood there silently for a second, and then walked out. At that point, I thought she was just being a little paranoid. But when I came out and saw her standing by the exit with all our stuff, she looked pale and panicked. She didn't even wait for me to speak, just grabbed my arm and said, "We need to go, now." It wasn't until we were speeding away in her car that she told me what happened. Apparently, when I went to the bathroom, that same creepy guy followed me a minute later. Neither of us noticed him at the time. She was distracted on her phone. But a random young guy sitting nearby saw it happen. He walked up to Anna and asked, "Hey, do you know that guy?" She said no. He looked worried and told her that he just followed me back into the bathroom. Anna freaked out, ran to check on me, and when she stepped into the restroom, she saw the stall door next to mine wide open, and the man standing inside, silently. He wasn't using the bathroom. He didn't say anything. He just stood there. She called my name, trying not to panic, and when I answered, that's when the guy suddenly walked out of the stall, brushing past her without saying a word, and left through the side exit by the bathroom. She grabbed all our things and was waiting by the door when I came out, still trying to process what just happened.
Okay, that's a little weird. I was just thinking, okay, he's part of a group of teen guys that they're not going to do anything to him. They're just chilling, having a good time. But nope. It's weird that this particular guy walked in, sat down in a booth right beside him and did not order nothing and just sit there staring at him. But then it's also weird and crazy to even think that this guy followed this girl to the women's bathroom and sat in the stall right next to her. Thank God there was a guy that saw it all happen, and he went to her friend to tell her what was going on. Makes you wonder, was he trying to take pictures of her from underneath that stall, or he's just a one big total creep that just like spying on her? I don't know. Well, I mean, that's where it's boiling down to, and I don't like it. Thank God her friend walked in there and called her name out and waited for her to get her and go. I wouldn't stay there another minute either, because you never know. He's just hiding around the building somewhere.
When we got to the car, he was already there, sitting inside a black SUV with tinted windows, parked right next to us, still staring. We got the hell out of there, shaking and trying to make sense of it. We called that McDonald's right after, but they didn't seem to care much. The non-emergency sheriff's line was closed. Thankfully, my mom went full Mama Bear mode. She made a huge deal out of it on social media until we got through to someone at corporate. They pulled security footage, confirmed that the man had followed me inside, and we finally got a police report filed. To this day, I don't know what that guy's intentions were. He didn't say a word. He just stood there, watching, waiting. And it still gives me chills to think about what could have happened if Anna hadn't been paying attention, or if that random stranger hadn't spoken up.
Hey, I'm glad that their mom went old Mama Bear on them, because I'd be mad too if McDonald's or any other fast food chain didn't want to take a sketchy matter seriously like this. But thankfully, they were able to get the security footage and file a police report, and hopefully they could catch that guy for being a total creep. But if her friend did not notice him get up, or that guy did not tell her that he was following the other girl, then he probably would have took advantage of just hiding in the stall next to her and take pictures like I said earlier, or probably grab her and kidnap her. I mean, who knows what would have happened. But that is really sketchy, creepy, disturbing, all at the same time. But it really makes me sick in the stomach that there's people out there like that would just wander into uncharted territory, if you know what I mean, just to spy on people. Let's get to story number 2.
So I work at a small McDonald's in a tiny southern town.
Okay.
One of those places where everybody knows everybody, and not much ever happens. Or at least that's what I thought. I've run into my fair share of weirdos on the job, but what I saw the other day shook me more than anything else. And what's worse, hardly anyone else seemed to even notice. It was around 7 p.m., right in the middle of our dinner rush. The lobby was packed. Families, teenagers, a few little kids running around like usual. I tend to keep an eye on the kids when I can, not in a weird way. I just like kids, and it gives me a break from the chaos behind the counter. But we were slammed, and I got caught up taking orders and restocking, so I hadn't looked over at them in maybe 10-15 minutes. Then I heard something that made my ears perk up. A man's voice, soft and low, asking, "So, how old are you?" I looked over and saw this really tall guy, shaved head, red shirt, standing there talking to a little girl who couldn't have been more than 6. He had a little boy on his shoulders, about the same age, giggling like they were having the time of their life. At first glance, it might have looked like a dad playing with his kids. But the way he was talking, something didn't sit right.
Oh, God, no. This employee needs to go straight up to the manager and tell him what she just bear witness to, because it seems like you got like a child kidnapper in the restaurant. And I'll be wondering where the parents are at. Oh man, this is already creepy. I know you're slam packed with customers, but when you get a break, try to help them kids out from getting taken.
Why would a grown man be asking a child how old she is if he's supposed to know her? And why was he leading the conversation like that? Then he said something that made my stomach twist. You should come with me now. I have a little brother who's 6 too. Let's go play with him. And just like that, he started walking toward the exit with the boy still on his shoulders and the little girl following close behind him. I didn't even think. I just moved. I rushed around the counter, heading straight for the door, ready to step in. But right as I was about to get there, a blonde woman burst out of the bathroom shouting, Hey, where are you guys going? Get over here. The guy froze. His eyes went wide, like he'd just been caught red-handed. He slowly put the little boy down, and the woman swooped in, scooping up the girl and reaching for her son. The guy started stammering, Oh, I was just playing with your kids. They're really sweet. I just really like kids. Trying to smile, but it came off all wrong. Nervous, creepy, desperate. The mom gave him this fake smile, but her eyes were full of venom. She didn't say what she really wanted to say, just went with, Oh, well, I'm glad you had a nice time, but we need to order now. Then she led her kids to the other side of the restaurant, never taking her eyes off them for a second. The guy didn't stick around. He dipped out through the front exit and disappeared. The rest of their time there, that mom kept both her kids clutched tight at her side, even in their booth. And honestly, I couldn't blame her. I still think about how close that moment was. If I hadn't turned around when I did, if she had stayed in the bathroom 30 seconds longer, who knows where those kids might have ended up.
I get it. She probably trusted them to stay out there and play and do not talk to strangers. Thankfully, she did get out of the bathroom quick enough before that guy took them kids out to his vehicle, because them kids did not know that they were going to be taken and probably kidnapped. But thankfully, this employee had the notion to try to go stop them. But luckily, the mom started running and screaming at that guy before he disappeared with them forever. Because I know she'll have a total meltdown and blaming the employees for not stopping him. But now, hopefully, they'll get a hard lesson from the mother saying that you don't talk to strangers and don't go with them anywhere.
If I hadn't turned around when I did, if she had stayed in the bathroom 30 seconds longer, who knows where those kids might have ended up. I don't understand how nobody else noticed. There were people right there, sitting a few feet away, and not one of them reacted. And yeah, the mom probably shouldn't have left her kids alone in a public place.
Exactly. But everybody else is probably too busy talking and eating with each other that they just did not have a care in the world to look up and see somebody taking kids out the door, which is so rude.
Even if it's a McDonald's. But nobody deserves to have their children taken away by some predator pretending to play nice. If that guy ever comes back through our doors, I won't hesitate. I'll call the cops immediately, because people like him don't just play. They wait for a moment when no one's looking. This happened back when I was about 6 years old, and it's something I'll never forget, no matter how much I wish I could. At the time, I lived with my dad and grandparents. My parents had me young, teenagers, and my dad ended up with full custody. He was still living with his parents, and my grandparents treated me like the daughter they never had. I was especially close with my grandpa, so when he passed away from cancer, it hit all of us hard. This story happened a few months after he died, during a quiet Saturday afternoon. My dad was at work that day, so my grandma decided to take me out for lunch. She asked if I wanted McDonald's, and of course, 6-year-old me was all over that. We headed to the location that was just a couple minutes down the road, ordered our food, and sat at a table to eat. At that point, the restaurant was empty except for us. Pretty calm for a weekend. About 10 minutes into our lunch, a man walked in. I noticed him immediately. because he looked completely out of place for our area. He looked like he hadn't showered in weeks. Long, scraggly white hair and a matching beard, dirt-stained white shirt, baggy blue shorts, and sandals that looked like they'd been through a war. He ordered some food and sat diagonally from us, just within my line of sight. My grandma had her back to him, so she didn't see what I saw. At first, I didn't think much of it, until I noticed his hands under the table. He had something in his lap, something wrinkly and pinkish, and he kept glancing at me, shifting in his seat, and rubbing whatever it was. Now, even at 6, I'd already been taught in school about safe touches and stranger danger, and in that moment, it all clicked. I realized this man was doing something really wrong, and from the way he kept looking at me, I knew I wasn't just imagining it. I froze. I felt sick to my stomach. But I didn't say anything to my grandma. I was scared that if I said something out loud, he might get angry or come after us. My dad wasn't there, and in my little kid brain, I thought only my dad could protect us.
Oh, that is just so gross. Can't believe there's somebody that would just walk into a McDonald's and just stare at a young girl rubbing and touching something down south. Oh, yuck. Man, I would have told your grandma, because then they could have got employees involved to call the cops and get him arrested for being like some sort of a pervert. God, it makes me sick. I can't believe there's people that do that. Good Lord. Yeah. He's really twisted in the mind, that's for sure.
So I just quietly slid my Happy Meal box in front of my face to block my view of him and stopped eating. I'd barely touched my food, but when Graham asked if I was full, I just nodded. She didn't think much of it. Me not finishing a meal was pretty normal. Then she asked if I wanted to go play in the play area, and I quickly said, I want to go home. She could tell something was off, but didn't press me right away. She cleaned up our tray, and we left. The second we got home, I still felt like I was going to throw up. Graham looked at me and asked, What's wrong, Munchkin? That's what she always called me, and I just started crying. Through tears, I told her what I saw. She didn't panic or overreact. She just gave me a big hug and told me it was going to be okay. She handed me one of those blue Kool-Aid bursts and told me to go play in my room. She even sent our dog Patches with me, probably to make me feel safer. Once I was out of earshot, she got on the phone with the McDonald's and told them what had happened. The guy was still there. The manager said he'd take care of it and call her back. About an hour later, he did. He told my grandma they called the cops, and when officers arrived and told the man to stand up, he still had himself hanging out of his shorts, completely exposed. They arrested him on the spot. As a weird silver lining, the manager told Graham that we could come back and pick up a bunch of coupons for free Happy Meals, as a kind of apology for what happened. But to be honest, I didn't want to go back there for a long time. I still think about that moment, especially how close I came to saying nothing. What if he had followed us out? What if my grandma hadn't believed me? Thankfully, she did, and she handled it like a boss. I actually have another story from a few years later that involved a creep and my dad, but let's just say, that one didn't end so calmly. I'll save that for another time.
I'm just glad that she told her grandma, because if she didn't, that guy probably would have zipped his pants back up and walked out of the door. Thankfully, the manager said that he was still there and they called the cops and got him arrested. But that is really disturbing to think that he still had his junk hanging out while he was eating. I would not only ban him, but make sure he's put away for a long time. And I don't blame the granddaughter for not wanting to go back to that McDonald's either, because I'll be afraid if that guy was able to make bail or some other creep would show up.
When I was a kid, I had this really bad habit of talking way too much to people I didn't know. My parents warned me about it constantly. Don't talk to strangers. Stop oversharing. But it just didn't click for me. I wasn't trying to be reckless or anything. I just liked talking, and I didn't see the danger in being friendly. This story happened when I was around 8 or 9. My mom had taken me to McDonald's one night along with her friend and her daughter, basically a mini play date for us. After we ate, we ran off to the play area, which was indoors. It was pretty late, and the place was basically dead. Besides us, there was just a single man sitting alone near the play place, and the employees behind the counter. Now, instead of ignoring him like a normal kid probably would, I decided this was the perfect opportunity to strike up a conversation. I walked right up to him with my friend and started talking. I introduced both of us, told him our names, talked about school, what we liked doing, where we went to play, probably even mentioned what neighborhood we lived in.
Oh my goodness, why'd you do that? If I struck up a conversation with a person at a restaurant, I only talk to them if they started the conversation off first. But I wouldn't mention anything about what neighborhood I live in, as then creeps like that would take information like that and use it to their advantage to either try to locate you and kidnap you. Who knows?
I don't remember most of what I said. It was just your usual kid rambling. But it was a lot. The man barely said anything in return. At one point, he took out his phone, called someone, and started speaking in another language I didn't recognize. Eventually, we lost interest and went back to the play area. A little while later, the man left. I didn't think anything of it. My friend and I kept playing like nothing happened. But then, maybe an hour after he was gone, something strange happened. A man I didn't recognize came in through the front entrance, and he wasn't alone. He had a young girl with him, probably around my age. The girl immediately ran up to the glass wall near the play area and started calling my name excitedly, like we were old friends. I walked over, completely confused. I had no idea who this girl was, but she acted like she knew me. She started talking to me like we had known each other forever, bringing up all kinds of specific things about my life, my school, my hobbies, even little details about what I liked. I remember thinking, did I meet her before and just forgot? But looking back now, I realize everything she said was stuff I had told that man earlier. He had clearly repeated it to her over the phone. Then she tried to get me to come outside with her, to hang out, she said. And the worst part is, I was about to do it. I started walking toward the exit. I didn't see anything wrong with it. That's when my mom caught on to what was happening. She dropped what she was doing and sprinted across the restaurant to grab me by the arm. She pulled me away and rushed us out through a different exit to the car. The second we got in, she floored it. I was still yelling, totally confused about why she was acting like this. She didn't say a word. But when I looked out the back window, I saw the man and the little girl coming out of the restaurant, getting into their own car, and pulling out right after us. They started following us. I could feel the panic in my mom's driving. She was taking random turns, weaving through unfamiliar streets, clearly trying to lose them. It took a few minutes, but eventually we did. When she was sure they were gone, she finally drove us home. And I got in big trouble. That's when she explained what had really happened. That man I talked to had probably fed everything I told him to the girl and the guy who came in later. She said it was almost certainly a kidnapping setup, and I had walked right into it. I didn't get it back then. I couldn't understand why a girl my age would be part of something like that. But now I know. And it still makes me sick to think about how close I came to walking out of that restaurant. If my mom hadn't caught on when she did, I might not be here to tell this story. I also could have dragged my friend into danger too. It's a reminder that not all danger looks scary. Sometimes it looks just like you.
See? This is what happens when you start talking your personal life with strangers. They might end up contacting some of their friends with that information just to lure you out of places like this. But yeah, I'm confused too. I'm surprised they got a little girl to go along with their plans too. Unless she's actually the daughter of the man that walked right on in with her. But yeah, that'd be terrifying that she knows everything that you just said to the other guy and was almost kidnapped by walking with her outside. But thankfully, the mom saw what was going on, grabbed him real quick, and got out of that McDonald's and back home safe and sound without them knowing where they're at. But I wouldn't blame the mom for being mad with him, because I'd be mad too if my kid told the stranger what neighborhood we lived on and what their hobbies were. I mean, that's not nobody else's business, because then if they figured out what neighborhood you lived on, they could easily find you. I'm sorry you had to learn this lesson of stranger danger the hard way. I'm just glad he did not get kidnapped and hold for ransom or anything.
It's finals week at my university, and I've been stuck pulling late nights at the library. Tonight was especially brutal. I didn't leave until almost 5 in the morning. I was starving and way too tired to cook, so I figured I'd hit the McDonald's closest to campus. It's open 24 hours, and honestly, it's saved my life more times than I can count during weeks like this. So I'm pulling into the drive-thru when I notice something weird. There's this all-white dog barking like crazy and chasing a guy on a bicycle across the massive parking lot that McDonald's shares with a grocery store. It's a pretty big open space, and there's some nearby apartment complexes, so I didn't think too much of it at first. Figured it was just some random neighborhood stray chasing a delivery dude or something. Anyway, I roll up to the intercom, place my order, and pull forward to the second window. And I realize I'm the only car in the drive-thru at the moment. As I'm sitting there waiting to pay, this guy suddenly comes out from behind a silver car parked off to the side. Not out of the car, from behind it, which immediately struck me as off. He starts walking toward me. This guy is a good 40 or 50 feet away, so I've got time to watch him as he approaches, and I'm hoping maybe he's heading toward the restaurant entrance, which is in the same direction. But nope. He walks straight to the passenger side of my car. It's dark in the lot, but I can make out enough of his features to feel uneasy. He looked like he was in his late 30s, maybe early 40s, with a hoodie pulled over his head, scruffy facial hair, and what looked like acne scars or some kind of marks all over his face. His skin was light brown, and he didn't look particularly clean. I immediately rolled up my driver's side window and cracked the passenger side window just enough to hear him. He leans in and says, "Hey man, think you could give me a jump? I've got the cables and everything." Now, on a different day, maybe I'd feel bad and try to help. But the vibe was just off. Something about him didn't sit right with me.
Yeah, because I've got the feeling that that's not his car and he's just sitting behind it waiting for someone to help him and probably rob him in plain sight. Man, I'll be hoping that the McDonald's employee comes to the window fast so I can pay them and get my food and go at this point.
I told him I wasn't comfortable with that, and he just stood there for a second, like he wasn't expecting me to say no. He finally shrugged and walked off without saying anything else. Right after that, the McDonald's worker popped into the window to take my payment. She asked if I knew the guy and what he wanted, and I explained he was asking for a jump start. She looked concerned, but didn't say much else. I got my change and sat there waiting for my food, trying not to look too paranoid. But while I was waiting, I watched that guy wander the lot, not going to another car, not asking anyone else for help. A couple cars had pulled up behind me in line, but he ignored them entirely. That's when I knew something was up. If your car's really dead, why not ask the next person? After I got my food, I decided to call the non-emergency police line just to be safe. I didn't want to do it in the McDonald's lot, and I didn't want to risk pulling over somewhere crowded. So I drove across the street to an empty H&R Block lot and parked there to look up the number. While I'm sitting there with my phone, I hear a bark, loud and close. I look up, startled, and there it is again. That same white dog. It's still chasing that guy on the bike. Only now they're circling the parking lot I'm in. And get this, he slows down just long enough to make eye contact with me. Gives me one of those head nods like, "What's up?" And I do the same back instinctively, before realizing how weird this whole situation is. Then he just takes off again, the dog still going after him. That was enough for me. I got out of there immediately, and ended up calling in an anonymous tip about the guy. I don't know what his plan was or why he was lurking behind that car, but I really hope I never cross paths with him, or that dog, again.
So it was that guy on the bike with the white dog then, huh? Makes you wonder, he parked his bike nearby and just let the dog guard it and wander around just to see if that guy would be willing to help him jumpstart his car, when in reality he didn't have a car. He was just riding the bike, probably planning on robbing him. Who knows? But that would be creepy if you just pulled away from that McDonald's and parked at another spot, and then that guy rode up on his bike with his dog and didn't do nothing and just kept on going. That would creep the crap out of me for sure. But thankfully he did report it anonymously. But if he does something like that again, I know the cops will be around that area to get him and ask him what he's doing, because that just don't seem right at all.
A few years back, I was living with my mom in a low-income apartment complex in Minnesota. Money was tight enough that paying for internet just wasn't an option. So I'd do what any desperate, broke college-age kid would do: piggyback off my neighbor's unsecured Wi-Fi signals. When those went out, and they always went out, I'd bundle up and head to the nearest McDonald's to use their free Wi-Fi. This became such a regular thing that I pretty much had my own unofficial booth there. One evening, I was about to head out for my usual Wi-Fi run when the guy who lived next door stopped me. His name was Joe. I didn't know him well, just that he was older, kind of hunched over, always smelled faintly of cigarettes and beer, and had a beard that looked like it hadn't been washed since the Clinton administration. He offered to give me a ride and said he'd buy me a coffee too. I figured, what the hell? Free ride and free coffee. We got into his beat-up truck and made the icy drive to McDonald's. When we got inside, I grabbed a booth and powered up my old laptop while Joe went to get the coffees. As soon as he came back, he sat across from me and asked, "Hey kid, ever heard of God's DNA?" I stared at him, confused, thinking maybe I misheard him. I asked him to repeat himself, and he launched into this bizarre rant about how God's DNA is what holds the universe together, and somehow it proves men are genetically superior to women. Yeah. That was the moment I realized I'd made a mistake. I nodded along awkwardly, waiting for my laptop to finish loading, then grabbed my coffee and casually slipped into another booth when he wasn't paying attention. I figured that'd be the end of it. But then, things got even stranger. While I tried to browse the internet, I noticed other men, just as scruffy and odd-looking as Joe, coming in and sitting with him, one after the other. They all had that same greasy lumberjack look, like they'd been plucked straight out of a survivalist bunker in the woods. I don't know what they were talking about, but I'd bet anything it had something to do with God's DNA. I tried my best to keep my head down, but I kept catching them glancing over at me when they thought I wasn't paying attention. Eventually, Joe excused himself to the bathroom, probably to unleash whatever ungodly McMeal was brewing inside him, and I used that moment to quietly pack up and slip out the door. The freezing Minnesota wind hit me like a wall, but honestly, I preferred the cold to whatever the hell I had just been sitting in. As I neared my apartment, I heard the crunch of tires on snow behind me, I turned around and saw Joe's truck creeping down the road. He was behind the wheel, and sitting next to him was one of the same beardy guys from McDonald's. I gave them a little wave, trying to play it cool, but they didn't wave back. They just drove slowly past without saying a word. After that night, things got even more unsettling. Every time I went back to McDonald's, no matter what time, no matter what day, either Joe or one of those weird mountain men would be there, always watching, never saying anything, just there. It felt like they somehow knew I'd be coming, like they were expecting me. I started avoiding them as best I could, but I still had to use the internet, and McDonald's was my only option. It got to the point where I'd sit facing the door just so I wouldn't get snuck up on. The whole thing messed with my head. Then one day, Joe vanished. Someone apparently broke into his apartment and stole his bicycle. After that, he packed up and left. Not long after, I started hearing things. Neighbors telling me Joe traded food stamps for drugs, and that he used to tell women he wanted to leave his body and spirit and ravish them while they slept. I'm not even sure what that means, but I'm very sure I never want to know. After he left, those guys stopped showing up too. I still saw one or two of them hanging around once or twice, but then, just like Joe, they were gone.
It would have been nice to take a ride with somebody instead of going through the frigid temperature weather to McDonald's, but then it'd be kind of weird if multiple bearded guys like him walked in and started sitting with him and he's starting talking about the God's DNA. I'd be like, great, that guy's probably on some sort of meth. But then it's kind of weird that him or one of the other guys would be watching this particular kid until finally one day his apartment was broken into and he just disappeared. Probably got in a bad deal with some drug dealers and he had to leave. And all of his friends decided to do that as well. Which, thank God, they did not attempt to attack this kid for leaving McDonald's so fast like that. But thankfully, he don't have to deal with them no more. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on post notifications for more Midnight Terrorist content like this. This has been another successful installment of the Tin Man Score channel. I'm your host, Jeffrey Tin Man Taylor. I say that's a wrap, and have a nice day, y'all.